Mason, I think we need to talk.
Sure thing, Jeff. It's what we do.
Well, it's about your problem.
My problem? I don't have a problem.
You have a problem. You have a camera bag problem.
Oh, what? You mean that problem where I don't have enough room in my closet for all my camera bags?
It's the problem where you have a closet and a basement and a spare room, and I think you have a problem.
Oh, come on now.
Carrying around camera gear isn't as easy as it seems.
There's no such thing as a perfect camera bag. Choosing the right bag is downright discombobulated.
Today, we're going to photocombobulate camera bags. I'm Jeff Carlson.
And I'm Mason Marsh, and I love camera bags.
Yes, you do. Maybe too much.
Maybe someone's jealous.
Maybe a little. Maybe a little.
A little. You know, Jeff, in my defense, I have spent many, many years buying camera bags. And you're right, I do have a problem. The problem is, and it's taken me a long time to get to this conclusion, the problem is that one camera bag just isn't enough.
Well, see, okay, you said you've spent many years. You've also spent a crap load of money on camera bags. And this sounds a lot like the tripod problem, which is, you know, you say, you know, I'm going to buy a tripod. It's going to be a decent tripod, but I don't have a lot to spend. And then you end up needing to buy something better or something lighter. And you really should have just spent more money to get the right tripod in the first place.
Right. It's that whole buy once, cry once, right?
Exactly. But here, I think my analogy falls apart a little bit because there isn't one good bag, right?
Right. Well, I think your analogy about the tripod's right because you need different tripods for different situations. For instance, if I'm going to go out and photograph winter weather on the Oregon coast, I want the biggest, heaviest, burliest tripod I can get because I want it to be super stable in the wind. I'm going to drive there. I'm not carrying the thing miles and miles on my back or anything like that. So having a tripod that's going to work in that situation is great, but that's not the tripod I'm going to take with me on a flight to Italy, for instance. I'm going to want to bring something much more compact. I probably am not going to be using that in storm conditions, so it can be a little less sturdy, that sort of thing. So that thinking applies to camera bags because we do lots of different types of photography. Most photographers don't just do one thing with their camera over and over and over. They do lots of things. They go and take landscape photos. They run down to the park and take photos of ducks in the pond. Maybe they photograph a friend's wedding on the weekend. Every situation is going to ask for a different type of camera carrying solution. And so you need different bags.
Well, and that's kind of hard to accept, especially early because, well, okay. I remember when I first got a camera, suddenly you're like, all right, what am I going to protect this with? And I remember I had a little, like I think the first Nikon DSLR that I had, I bought this sort of lens camera shaped pouch flap thing. And that was like to protect it, right? And of course, no, not even like that. It was much more basic. It was
much more basic. It probably said Nikon on it.
Oh, I'm sure it probably did. Yeah. And the idea behind that was, okay, I just spent a lot of money on a camera. I need to protect it. And that didn't take into consideration any other lenses or anything else. And so I think this is what happens to a lot of people. Suddenly you are now on the search for the best bag, like the one bag that's going to do everything for you. And so of course you start thinking, all right, well, what do I have? I have these lenses and I want to put in some filters and I want to be able to strap my tripod to it. And so you go and you find something that has the most pockets or the best dividers. And then you realize, oh, well, this is great, except I'm not going to haul this everywhere. This is way too much. And then you get into that spiral of, oh, I bought too much bag. And now what am I going to do? I can't buy another bag. But of course, well,
of course you can.
Let's be honest. No photographer says, I can't buy another bag. But you kind of feel bad about it because you're like, oh, I made the wrong choice.
Right.
And like that's the key thing for me because I have bags upstairs that I think only one bag I would qualify as being like the wrong choice because the features sounded good at the time, and then once I took it out in the field, it just didn't work as well as I would have liked. It was hard to get to. But for all of my other bags, uh, like I do mix and match between them,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like goes against everything that I started with. And so hopefully, I know I'm going on and on about this, but hopefully this can, save somebody some trouble or some anxiety about, oh, geez, well, I went on YouTube and I saw, like this is the best bag for this is the best bag for photographers. Well, kind of, right?
Yeah, it's the camera, the photography industry in itself does not help us with this problem
What?
because
No.
they convince us when we buy a camera, this is the best camera for everything you want to do. This camera does it all.
Yep.
And anybody who's fallen for that, which is all of us, gets to a point where you're like, well, this camera does do a lot and it's pretty amazing, but it doesn't do everything. And in fact, I think lenses are probably the better analog to this.
Yeah.
Lenses are like, well, this lens is great, but in low light, it's not so hot. So I need to get maybe a bright prime for low light situations. So there you go. You've added a lens.
Right.
And then you realize, well, I really enjoy shooting birds in flight. And so I need a longer lens for that, fast focusing lung lens. So you go grab one of those and it's like, okay, now I've got 3 lenses. And then pretty soon you've got 6 lenses or 8 lenses. And you're like, do I need to carry all these? I need to have somewhere to put all these. So let's just get a bag and we'll put them all in there. And that way, if I need them, they're right there because I spent a lot of money on them. I should take them with me. And so a lot of times we approach this problem of camera carry as where am I going to keep all my camera gear so that I can get to it when I need it? And we don't think about the actual act of carrying that camera gear. We just think of the act of storing it. Because frankly, that's what the bag's doing most of the time is it's sitting somewhere with their gear in it. And I spent a long time storing my gear in bags and thinking that was, where things should stay. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I started doing lots of different types of photography over and over and getting older and getting more experience and getting more kind of errors and mistakes and frustrations, under my belt, where I started realizing that having a big, heavy camera bag isn't appropriate for most of what I do. It's okay to leave lenses at home sometimes. It's hard for me to even say that because I get a little like, is it really okay?
They're gonna miss you. They're gonna be like all sad that they didn't get taken out in the big photo excursion.
Exactly. It's like, which of your kids do you take on vacation, right? That sort of question. So a lot of people get stuck in this mode where they do end up with a giant bag that weighs a lot. Yeah. And most people start with shoulder bags. Not so much anymore, but back when I started in photography as a photojournalist, the thing was you carry a donkey shoulder bag, which are these cool canvas, flappy bags with lots of pockets to stuff film in and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I had a giant donkey bag that I could carry all my stuff in. And I realized pretty quickly that having that big shoulder bag was literally a pain in the butt or pain in the back. In the back, yeah. In the shoulder, because I'm, carrying it with me all the time and I'm knocking it into things. I'm as a photojournalist, I don't want to be obtrusive. And here I am like a bull in a china shop with this big bag swinging around. Yeah. And I learned pretty quickly that having a smaller bag that I could put film and filters and batteries in, and then just carrying my cameras was a much more useful solution for me. And so my larger bag became sort of a mothership that lived in the trunk of my car. And I would work out of that bag, but I didn't like to carry it. I didn't carry it much. Yeah. Well, later, as I began leading workshops and doing more landscape photography, I realized that having a shoulder bag, was nice because I wanted to carry multiple lenses and I didn't want to have my cameras just out dangling on my straps, over my shoulders. I wanted things kind of put away from the rain and the wind and the salt and all of that. So I went with a shoulder bag and I was out on the Oregon coast photographing. I remember this very, very clearly. This moment of kind of, bing, the light came on. I
Good
was
light on the coast there.
it was actually pretty rainy.
Sorry.
But I squatted down to photograph some sea anemones in a tide pool, and I had the shoulder bag slung over my shoulder, but it was on my back, right?
Oh, no.
So you kind of swinging around. And so as I bent down, the bag swung around and kind of went bloop down into the water, just the bottom of the bag. It didn't ruin anything.
Okay.
But it definitely was like, why is this bag suddenly just in my face? It just came on around and got in the way. And I realized, wow, I need a backpack. I need to put my stuff in a backpack. And so I went out and because I have this problem, I went out and got a camera backpack. I put all my stuff in it. And the backpack was great because I could carry more, right? So I'm like, I'm putting all these lenses. I might need this. I might need that. I need these filters. I need all this stuff. I put all this stuff in the backpack and I go out there on the beach again. And I can squat down and take photos all day and the backpack's staying right there on my back. But when it comes time to change lenses, I can't just swing the bag around and open it up and dig around in it. I've got to set it down somewhere and open it up. And here I am on this wet, salty beach.
Yeah.
Like, well, now what do I do? So granted, now they have bags that open on the sides and you can access things, through side compartments. But most camera backpacks, the ones that we use, you're not going to access everything you need while you're wearing that bag. It needs to be set down. It needs to be worked out of. And so these situations demanded different things. And so the more experience I gathered, the more I realized, wait, in this situation, this bag works, but it doesn't work in that situation. Sometimes I love a shoulder bag. Sometimes I prefer a backpack. It's crazy.
Yeah. I want to jump back to one thing you said, because I think, you mentioned that you had a big bag that you left in the trunk of your car while you're doing photojournalist stuff. And I don't want to sound like, well, back in the day, but I think there is a little bit of back in the day, because like you said that, and it gave me a shiver, because I hear of so many people who, they have their bag in the trunk of their car. Well, someone pops the trunk, breaks in, and suddenly all your stuff is gone.
Yeah.
And, that's also an argument for not having a big bag that holds everything, because if that gets swiped, then you've lost everything. And so that's not good. So whenever we've been out and I've had a bigger bag, it's because I know that I'm going to have it with me and I'm going to carry it and I'm going to take that burden, because I know that I do want to have this longer lens in this situation, or we're going to be remote, we're on a workshop, etc. But I would never just leave something in my car anymore, because I mean, maybe that's just because, we both live in fairly major metropolises, Seattle and Portland, but there's still, like crime is a thing. And so you have to account for that.
Yeah. Unless you're packing around cold hard cash or gold bullion, it's pretty hard to concentrate a lot of money into a small package that's easy to carry. It's harder to beat a camera bag for that, right? I know a lot of people who've had camera bags stolen out of their cars and have lost gear that way. I've known people that had camera bags stolen, from sitting on the floor behind their chair. Someone's walked by and just grabbed it. So, the challenge, and I think maybe this is what we should stop our conversation and drill down to this point. The challenge is we want to be able to bring the gear that we are going to be using. We want to keep it safe. We want it to be protected, right? From the elements, from theft, from getting knocked around and bashed around. And so, choosing a camera bag that allows us to do all of that while still being small enough and comfortable enough to actually carry. That's a big recipe.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Well, yeah, and again, that's sort of jumping into the, okay, well, now which bag is going to meet all those criteria and be my ultimate bag? I wonder, so would you advise people, let's say someone is just starting out, or, they've had one of these big bags and everything's stored in the bag. And actually, I would love to talk a little bit more about storage if we have time later. Like, is it practical to say, okay, you need to go and look for 2 bags, 3 bags, Or like, is that good overall advice? Or do we need to stop and say, let's break this down. What kind of photography are you doing? What do you think you're going to be doing? Like, this is a perfect discombobulated moment because it's hard to know where to start. Yeah, you can go and buy a giant bag and make mistakes, or maybe you're going to buy 3 bags and realize you only use 2 of them, or maybe you need to make a spreadsheet that says what your lenses are and what types of photography. Oh my God, your eyes just lit up when I said spreadsheet. Never mind, never mind.
No, yeah, everybody loves a good spreadsheet. Actually,
Next episode.
we have this data, Jeff. We have this data already mined. It's
Oh, I
waiting
know where
for
you're
us.
going now.
You know where I'm
Okay.
headed for this?
Yep.
So
Yep.
what I would say to someone who comes to me and says, "Listen, I'm frustrated with my camera carry solutions." And everybody talks like that, right? I'm frustrated with my camera carry solutions.
That's right, doctor.
Doctor. First thing is we have to understand as human beings, we are creatures of comfort. We like things to be easy, right? We've mastered technology to make our lives easier.
Mhm.
So we need to consider that if something is difficult, we may not be doing it. So if that bag is too heavy to carry, you're not going to take it out and take photographs as often as you would. You know, it's
Right.
got to be really special to get you to take that camera. I know people that carry cameras with them everywhere they go. I'm not that person, but I do understand that the easier it is for me to grab my camera gear and carry it with me, the more likely it is that I'm going to make good photos
Mhm.
because I'm actually using the camera gear. So in Lightroom or any digital asset management system, so whether you use Lightroom or Capture One or whatever, there's a way to filter your photographs by camera and by lens. And so one of the things that I would encourage people to do is to do an audit in their software. We'll use Lightroom because that's what you and I both use. So if we go into Lightroom and we filter for a specific lens that we use, and we look and we see how many hundreds or thousands of photos we've made with that lens, and we can actually break it down. So what I've done is I've created smart collections in Lightroom for each of my cameras and for each of my lenses. And I can just look at the numbers next to those collections because it'll automatically populate those collections
Right.
based on the EXIF data of the photos.
Right.
It's not like I have to go through and pull these in, right? It's done automatically.
And this is in Lightroom Classic. I'll just be the nerd here and mention that the other Lightroom doesn't have this capability. So
yes,
Lightroom Classic.
Thank you for mentioning that because that is frustration with the newer Lightroom.
Thank you, Mr. Pedantic Man. Okay.
Yes. No, it's important. It's important. So you do this audit and you see which lenses really are important to you based on what you've used them for in the past. Mm-hmm. Past performance is a predictor of future performance, right? So if you've got 2 or 3 lenses that those are the ones that you make the most photos with, those are the ones that need to go in your bag. The other ones, maybe you don't have to have a place for them. They can maybe just come out on special occasions. Those are the kids you can leave at home when you go on vacation. You need to bring your 3 favorite kids in the bag. Now, once you've established this belief that you've got this core set of lenses and this core set of cameras, you need to think about what you're going to be doing with it. And one of the questions when people say, I need a camera bag, is I say, what type of photography do you do? And if someone says, I'm really, I really enjoy photographing musical performances, concerts. I'm like, okay, so you're going to be parked in one spot. You're going to bring your gear in. You're going to have a place to probably set a bag down on the floor or maybe on a chair or someplace where you can tuck it away. And you're going to be working with out of that bag, not on your body. That bag's going to be set down somewhere.
Yeah.
That bag probably should be a shoulder bag. At that point, you can probably get away with the shoulder bag. Shoulder bags are really easy. That way, if you're stuck in a situation where you can't set it down, you can still work out of it really easily by just reaching down and digging around in it. Mm-hmm. But if you say, wow, I'm a travel photographer, I'm going to go on trips, I'm going to carry my camera gear all day, I'm going to be walking for miles, then you need a backpack. No doubt. You need a backpack. It's going to get that bag on your back where it's going to be easier to carry the weight, but it's also going to keep it out of the way. You can move through a crowd with a backpack on really easily. Now, if you don't have a very big kit, if you're just talking about one camera and one lens, this gets super easy, right? One camera, one lens, you're just going to carry that on a strap or maybe have a simple little holster or a small bag to put it in. And that you can carry however you want. You can put that in with your other bag, your day pack or your briefcase or whatever it is you're carrying.
Yeah.
But we're talking about people who have multiple lenses they want to bring. It's complicated, maybe even a tripod or something like that. So a backpack's going to be an easier solution if you're carrying it all day. If you're in an area where you're going to be stooping down, moving around, doing awkward, body positioning, like my example of the beach, a backpack's going to work much better than a shoulder bag for that. But the challenge is, the downside of that backpack is when you do need to switch lenses or you do need to get your gear out and use it, you're going to have to set that bag down. For me, that's not a problem. I'm good with that. I accept that. I love having my gear with me so that I don't get into a situation where I'm a mile from my car and I go, man, I really wish I brought the wide angle lens. Look at this shot,
Yeah.
Having a backpack that can carry a lot of stuff is really nice in those situations, but it's not going to be great for all situations.
Right.
So,
right. And let's break this down just a little bit, because so for a long time, I only used messenger bags or shoulder bags. And and I feel like I'm even spooling out another subtopic here, because I want to include bags that will also carry laptops and everyday carry type of stuff. And I almost feel like maybe I shouldn't go there yet, because that's a whole other thing.
I think it's a good thing to talk about, because not everybody is just out to take photos.
Yeah. So here's my example. So for the longest time, I've been mostly mobile. Now that kind of went in the toilet when the pandemic started, of course. But like a typical day would be, I would take my kid to school, and I would have a backpack or a messenger bag, and that would have my computer and power cord, batteries, the place for my camera, because I liked having my camera with me even if I didn't really shoot it a lot. It didn't bother me to have a lot of stuff with me. I know there are some people who would just be amazed at like how much I would carry during the day, and I wasn't carrying like a big, huge, workshop kind of backpack,
right?
But it was a decent sized thing, because I would go and work in coffee shops and maybe go to like maybe 3 coffee shops during the day. So I want to have that mobility. So there's that aspect of, okay, what else are you going to be carrying in addition to just your camera stuff? And I found that after using a messenger bag for a long time, also, like, I used to ride my bike to work when I had an office somewhere else. That was great. But it literally was twisting my back around. Like I started having back problems because it was a messenger bag. So I switched to a backpack. And the backpack that I use now is a Peak Design everyday backpack.
Yep.
That's what it's called.
Yep.
And what I like about it is that I can carry my laptop and a few lenses. Like I've been able to cram quite a bit in there, but if I do find myself in a situation where I need to grab my camera, I can pull off one shoulder, slide it around so it's like a messenger in a way, and access that from the side. Now, I've also had bags where you have side access, but it's really awkward or bad. And so just having that side access does not necessarily make the bag appealing. Like, it sounds good and then you never use it, or it's so frustrating when you try to use it. What is my point here? I don't know that I have a point other than these are all more things that you need to consider, because the simple thing for us to do would be like, okay, you're a photographer, you're a landscape photographer, get this bag. You're a street photographer, get this bag. And the reality is, I think for most of us, is sometimes you are a street photographer, sometimes you are a coffee shop, laptop toting, remote worker, sometimes you are shooting weddings, and you are going to be moving all day long, and you got to have your gear, you got to know where everything is. You can't just ask everybody to stop for a minute. I need to go get my prime lens out of the car, which is parked by the valet. You know, like, that just doesn't happen. So much of this depends on what you're going to shoot. And I hate to say this, so much of this, the bags that I have are, I think, all products of failure in the field. Like,
Yes.
like,
Mhm.
like you have to, it sucks that you have to, I will finish the sentence. I swear to
No,
God.
no, it's good. I like it.
but,
Keep going,
but,
Jeff. Keep going.
but it sucks to say, you know what, you're going to spend money whether you like it or not. And some of the things are just not going to work, but you have to do that to get the experience to realize, you know what, like, concrete example, my Peak Design backpack is great and I use it most of the time. And yet there are some times when I want to, say, go hiking and I don't want to bring all that stuff. Even if I take most of the stuff out, that's the bag. That's the thing that I use. And so I'm still carrying the weight of that bag, even if there's less stuff in it.
Yeah.
And so recently, thanks to your recommendation, I got a little sling bag from Peak Design. And that lets me carry my camera, a lens, maybe 2 lenses, and I can just grab that and go and not have all of the other stuff. But it took a long time of me carrying my Peak Design backpack and realizing, oh, like, this is too much. I didn't need to bring this whole thing on this trip. And yet there you are, you're stuck with it. And you gotta deal with it.
Yeah, this subject is just incredibly complicated. When I said it was discombobulated, this is exactly, one of the reasons why I wanted to take on this topic. There's no answer that's right.
Yeah.
Because it's situational, it's personal. We're talking about carrying stuff on our bodies. This is where we're interacting with our technology physically. This human technological connection is something that designers and engineers obsess over and spend years and years trying to figure out. And the truth is, everybody's got different wants and needs and expectations. And so I want to kind of talk about what we have learned. We both of us have struggled with bags and carrying stuff. And so I want to talk a little bit about what we've learned and where we've come to now. And I want to say this with a giant asterisk right now. It is February 1st, 2022. I guarantee you on February 1st, 2023, I'm going to have a different opinion on all of this stuff because I'm going to do a lot of carrying between now and then.
Yeah.
And I'm going to learn more, and there's going to be new products that come out that are better. People are going to figure stuff out. So first of all, I want to chase this notion of photography being really important to us and something that we would like to have the opportunity to do if the opportunity comes up. So we want to carry our cameras with us when we're out and about.
Yeah.
For most of us, it's not a really great idea just to carry it on a strap because it gets beat up. It's out there. You're kind of flashing an expensive camera around, so maybe you want to hide it away, keep it out of the rain, that sort of thing. So a bag is a great solution. But then we want to bring our laptop, or we want to bring an iPad, or we want to bring a water bottle. We want to bring snacks, or a jacket. All of this stuff starts adding up.
Oh, yeah.
Piling on.
And oh my God, water bottles. Why does no company ever take into account that you want a water bottle as you're hiking through the wilderness? Anyway, I'm sorry.
I know.
Mini rant. Go ahead.
No, we'll go down and bang that drum here pretty quick. So hang on.
Okay.
The challenge of meeting this need of just day to day, I want to carry my camera with me. And we're not talking about 14 lenses. We're talking about usually just a camera and maybe 1 or 2 lenses. Yeah. Right? So fairly small. And now that most of us shoot mirrorless cameras, they are a little bit smaller. The lenses can be a little bit smaller. So we're not talking about a huge amount of stuff here. It's not an expedition, but it's this day-to-day stuff. Now, the Peak Design Everyday Backpack is a great thing to talk about. You have experience with it. I have experience with it. We both started with the Peak Design Everyday Messenger bags, which is where Peak Design started on this trail of bag making. Yeah. Great company, really innovative products. I think the Peak Design sling bags are brilliant. I actually can't stand the Everyday Backpack, and here's why. I think the straps are awful. They've tried to make it very urban and cool looking, and it is. They're beautiful bags to look at. I find the straps are really uncomfortable for carrying any kind of a load. And then when you swing it around, they have these side flaps that open. And it's a brilliant design for accessing lots of gear inside a bag. So you're holding yours up and it has this giant wing that flips open, right? So if you open that up, and you have these shelves, these dividers in there, and you've got your gear kind of tucked in each of these divided sections.
Mhm.
If you've got a bunch of gear in there, like a couple of different lenses and maybe some books and a jacket and all of that, it shifts around while you're carrying it because it's all done in these stacks.
Yeah.
And you tilt the bag on its side and you open it up. I always found that things were moving around a little too much. I like things to be a little bit more, I don't know, pulled in, I guess, or contained.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt like things were sort of spilling out when I opened that bag up. And I worried. I actually had a couple of times where lenses kind of wanted to fall out or roll out. I'm like, you shouldn't be so close to the opening. You know, again, it's like your little kids. Like, get back in there. So for those two reasons, I went away from the everyday bag towards other camera carry solutions. But another problem with the everyday backpack is there is a nice pocket on the outside for putting water bottles, but that's on the outside of that flap. So if you got to open that up, you got this big water bottle, you got all this other stuff. So they're trying to do a lot of things, and really good designs in packs include really complicated functionality like that. Like, okay, we got a water bottle carry on the outside. I've got to unzip this flap. On the inside are a bunch of zippered pockets for storing SD cards and batteries, and then you access the core of the pack. For a lot of people that works really well, but for some people that's just too much. It's too complicated. There's too much stuff that can slide out, jumble around, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what I have found is if I'm going to be a digital nomad for the day and I want to carry a camera in a bag with a laptop, and I also want to carry a water bottle, and I want to carry a jacket and some snacks and pens and all that other good stuff that I like to bring along with me, I actually use a regular day pack, and I put my camera inside of a holster. And this is a Mystery Ranch. I'll put links to all this. All these things we talk about, we'll put links to in the show notes. This is a Mystery Ranch, just a camera holster. It's just really simple little pod. It's padded. It's rather rigidly structured, so it'll protect a camera if I drop my bag, or God forbid I drop my bag, or somebody steps on it or something like that. My camera's pretty well protected in this, and I can slide this inside the bag in the main compartment of the bag. And then the day pack that I use also has a really wonderful sleeve for my laptop and a place for me to put my headphones and all of this stuff. I really like that because it's not a camera bag. It doesn't look like a camera bag. It doesn't have, all of these little compartments for putting lenses in that I'm going to figure out what am I going to do with that if I'm not actually using it for lenses. And so I'm adapting a regular bag to camera to bring a camera along. The other thing that I've done is I actually have the Peak Design sling bags like you have. I have a couple of different sizes. The Peak Design sling bag, this is the 10 liter, the big one, but the 6 liter and the 3 liter, which are the little ones, I have the 3 liter right here. Tiny little guy, right? Tiny little guy. These actually fit really nicely inside day packs too. So if you want to bring a camera with an extra lens, you can put them in a bag like this. And they're well structured and padded. They're built for carrying cameras, right? And you can slide in. And now here's where it gets good, Jeff. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's say you're digital nomading for the day and you want to go out and take some photos. The sun came out, you're tired of drinking coffee, you got to walk a little bit. So you're going to walk down to the docks and take pictures or something.
Yeah.
So you take the sling bag out, you deploy the strap, you put your backpack back on. Now you have the sling bag in the front and you can access your camera gear. And when you're done using it, you just dump it back in the backpack and carry it around. So here you've got a deployable alternative to carrying your camera inside your backpack. Yeah. So I really like this. It's sort of like a packing cube that allows you to use it as a sling bag. And it gives you access to your camera. You're not going to be fumbling around, trying to jumble a bunch of stuff. It really is simple. Now, people might be saying, why would you put a sling bag on while you're wearing a backpack? It's actually not bad. Yeah. You got one strap on, you can just put the other strap over the top of it. It's actually pretty comfortable. So
yeah. And I think it's also worth mentioning having the day pack. I'm not sure which day pack you're talking about, which I'm sure that you will show me, because let's go back to the original, you having a problem because you just picked up 4 bags that you have littered around you. But another important thing is there are so many camera bags out there that just scream, I have an expensive camera in this bag. And I started out with one of them, and it was just so obvious that you had a camera bag, and not even so much that you want to hide it from potential thieves, although I think that's kind of the main part.
Mhm.
But I, I just didn't want to advertise that, hey, I'm a photographer, especially if I'm not actually walking around doing much photography. If I, like you said, being a digital nomad. And so having something that just doesn't look like a camera bag, I think there's a lot of value in that. And even
Mhm.
though I think people who know Peak Design bags would look at me and know that I probably had a camera in there, and it's a nice looking bag. It's very well designed. So I'm sure if someone really wanted to, they would look at me in the coffee shop and be like, yeah, that's the guy to rip his bag off. But there are also so many bags. Even you're grab an old canvas bag, whatever, something beat up, and you're not going to be screaming, hey, I'm a photographer, I'm carrying something valuable.
Yeah, and I think that's in an urban environment, especially, that's definitely something to think about. So, one of the great things about the Peak Design sling bags, and so the Peak Design Everyday Sling, again, I've got the 3 liter and the 10 liter.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the 6 liter, I
I have
think.
the 6 liter, yeah.
So there are these 3 different sizes. They're amazing bags. The 3 liter bag, the smallest one, I can put my Sony mirrorless camera body in there, along with 2 prime lenses, as long as they're not big, huge, fat prime lenses.
Yeah.
And I oftentimes won't carry the lens attached to the camera. So in that bag, it's fairly flat. So I kind of slide everything in there in their individual pieces, and then pick which lens I want to use on my camera, that sort of thing. That can go into just about any bag I would ever carry to the coffee shop or on a hike with my kids, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got various backpacks that I would grab, or tote bags or things like that I would grab and carry along. Now, if I was flying somewhere and traveling and I wanted to not check a bag, because I actually want to see the stuff again.
Yeah.
The sling bags work really well because it's my extra item. So I have my backpack or my roll-on bag or whatever with all my clothes and stuff in it. Maybe I throw a tripod in there,
Mm-hmm.
and that goes in the overhead compartment. My carry-on bag can be the sling bag, and the larger one, the 10 liter, will hold an iPad along with camera gear. And so, it's a solution that I use all the time. The everyday sling bags of Peak Design, I think, are their best bags, and hands down the most useful. All different kinds of situations. Now, you still need that other bag to carry your laptop in, and you still need that other bag to carry your headphones and your water bottle and all that, because the Peak Design sling bag's no water bottle place at all. Drives me nuts. So you can clip a carabiner on your water bottle and have it jangling off the outside.
Perfect,
but there's no pocket. Yeah, that's just what we want, right? There's no pocket for that water bottle. And so I'm always taking a sling bag, but it's almost always working with another bag, either inside it or alongside it, that sort of thing. I've recently got a different camera bag that I'm going to use instead of the Peak Design sling bags. And
sorry. Okay, so we're gonna expound on how great these sling bags are, and be like,
and then talk about why we don't like them.
Yeah. So earlier when you said next February, I will probably have changed my opinion and changed my gear, and actually what you meant was, in 5 minutes, I will change my opinion and change my gear. You have a problem.
No.
I am here for this. I love it.
I have a solution.
Good. Okay.
So what was my biggest problem with the sling bag?
That you had no room to put it.
I had no room to put a water bottle in it.
Yes.
My biggest problem with the Peak Design sling bag is it is a great bag for carrying camera gear and even an iPad and camera gear. But there's no place for a water bottle. And so it just falls short. And so I'd oftentimes end up putting that sling bag inside of a backpack so that I could carry a water bottle and some snacks. And that gets kind of convoluted, right?
Yeah.
So I recently picked up this bag on the recommendation of Chris Nichols, who is one of our friends, we're fans of Chris, of DP Review TV. He suggested that he thought the Wotan Craft Pilot bag, which is a shoulder bag, he thought it was just a really elegant and useful bag And I went and looked at the website. I had heard of this company, but I'd never touched any of the bags and never seen anybody using one of the bags in person.
Mhm.
And I went and looked at it and like, wow, that's not my usual aesthetic. This doesn't look like any of my other camera bags. It's khaki color. It's got uh, a military kind of vintage military look to it.
Yeah.
But the more I looked at the bag, I'm more like, that's really clever. There's lots of things here that answer problems that I've had with things like the Peak Design sling bags or my Shimoda Designs backpacks. So follow me on this.
Okay.
This is not the perfect camera bag, but in times where I would carry a sling bag to go out, maybe walk around town, take photographs, I would grab a Peak Design sling bag, and then I would say, well, I guess when I get thirsty, I'll stop and get something to drink. That sort of hopeful perspective there on that.
Sure.
This has end pockets that are great for water bottles. So now I've got the option to carry a water bottle, which I always tell my kids, got to drink water. Water. So I've got pocket on each end. I could put snacks on one side, water bottle on the other, and they're not inside with my camera gear. I'm not going to leak water on my cameras or anything like that. So that's all taken care of. But then underneath this flap, I've got a nice compartment that's padded, but not hugely structured. It's sort of loose, but it's got plenty of padding for camera gear. And I can carry my Sony mirrorless camera along with a couple of good sized lenses. In fact, I could fit my 100 to 400 millimeter lens in here, which
Seriously?
is a huge lens. Yeah. I can fit it inside. And then it's got a front zippered pocket. It's got a back zippered pocket. I could sneak my iPad into here
Okay.
if I wanted to. And it all buckles up and it doesn't look like a camera bag. I don't think it looks like a camera bag, but it has all these solutions, and I can carry it as a shoulder bag, but I could also stuff this into a fairly large day pack if I wanted to. The only thing this won't carry that I might want to carry with me is my laptop. It's the only thing it won't carry. So I'm actually really impressed with this bag so far. I haven't used it tons, but I've taken it out a few times. It's very comfortable, has a great strap. And if I was going to go traveling, if I was going to go out for a walk all day taking photos, it's the bag I probably would grab right now.
Okay. Also worth pointing out that you have the 12.9 inch iPad. So just
Yes.
in terms of size, because I can actually get my 11 inch iPad into my Peak Design 6-liter thing. It's kind of tight, but
yeah, but it'll go. Yeah,
it'll go. Yeah, yeah. So just so we have a sense of scale here, because that's also the other problem of buying bags. Not to derail you here, but is you're looking at things online, you're looking at pictures, and it is hard to get a sense of how big is this. Oh, well, it holds 6 liters. Well,
yeah. What does that mean?
am I going to pour 6 liters of water in to check it out? No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the capacity. It's so slippery on these bags.
Yeah.
Everybody measures differently too. I mean, we know what 6 liters is. We can picture 3 2-liter bottles of soda, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot more than what that 6-liter bag looks like.
Yeah.
Right. So how do they measure this stuff? It's really strange and doesn't make any sense. But what you do need to think about is, will it hold that lens that you really want to bring with you? So you've done that audit and you're like, wow, I take a lot of photos with my 100 to 400 millimeter lens. It's really my, one of my favorite lenses. I want to be able to bring that with me. So when I got this bag, there were 2 options. There was a 7-liter and a 10-liter option. I got the 10-liter option because it was tall enough to hold that longer lens if I wanted to bring it.
Right.
And most of the time I'm not, but if I want to, it's that option's there. So I have that bag, which I think is right now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I think that bag is going to replace my everyday sling bags for most uses.
Okay.
And so I've got these couple of everyday sling bags that, if my wife needs to carry a sling bag or when my kids wants to borrow one, I've got them available. But right now, this Wotan Craft pilot bag is kind of my go-to shoulder bag. But, if I'm going on a photo trip where we're going to get in a car and we're going to go drive for 2 weeks and take a bunch of photos and bring every piece of gear we could possibly want to bring, that bag's not coming on that trip for that, because it's, it doesn't hold enough. It just doesn't bring everything I want to bring. It's that everyday bag kind of type of bag.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I also have learned this by experience. Even if you are going to go on a photo trip where you need everything, where you're going to be out shooting all sorts of things, I always put some sort of other bag into my suitcase,
Mhm.
because there are going to be times, and this has happened when we've been on our trips. You're going to want to we're going to spend an afternoon walking around town, right?
Yeah.
And you do not want to carry your big ass backpack through town, or some eh, quaint little location, because it's bulky, you're carrying too much, you're moving around a lot. B, you look like a dork because you're
Mhm.
hello, I'm a tourist. And
Yeah.
granted, like a lot of these places, it's okay to look like a tourist, but it's just too much. And so having that ability to grab something small, whether it's a sling, whether it's I mean, I have just like an old sling bag that I had that I took to Africa with me once, and it's kind of beat up. It doesn't hold a whole lot, but every once in a while, like that's what I would take before I got the sling, because I could
Mhm.
just throw something in. And the
Toss
sling
it
now
in there.
has a little bit more structure to it, and I like that a lot better now. But
But
being
you still
able
have to carry
to
that water bottle in your hand.
I still have to carry the water bottle. I still have to beg people for hydration on the
So
way.
thirsty. I hope I come across a drinking fountain soon. I'm gonna.
Please, 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 please.
So here's a great example of that, Jeff.
Okay.
When I went to Iceland pre-pandemic, this was a couple years ago now. I did this trip where I went to Iceland for a few days, and then I went to Copenhagen, Denmark, for a couple of days. And I did not want to. Well, I couldn't bring tons of stuff because I knew that I was going to be moving. Like, for instance, in Denmark, I was going to have to get from the airport to the hotel, and I wasn't going to take a cab. I was going to take the train and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So I had a rolling bag that had my clothes and boots and things like that, and cold weather gear for Iceland, and big tripod. And actually, I think I've even stuffed my drone in that bag. But then I had my Shimoda Designs 30-liter backpack, camera backpack, and that was a carry-on. And then my second carry-on was the Peak Design 10-liter sling bag. So I'm pretty loaded down, but I could still move.
Mhm.
Dragging a roller bag, wearing a backpack, got a sling bag on the front.
And you
So
didn't check anything, right?
I checked the roller bag.
You did check the okay, yeah.
Yep. So I had to check the roller bag. So for me, that was, for a couple of weeks of traveling, kind of world traveling, two different types of climates, I needed to cover a pretty broad range. So what I found was, in Iceland, I was working out of a camper van. The backpack worked really great. I could set it up, put anything I need into it. The Shimoda Designs backpack, there's even a place to put a water bottle, right? So I could go out on a hike and photograph, waterfalls and mountains and beautiful things. And the backpack was awesome. And when I'm working out of the van, I could just unzip it and it's like a mobile desk, right?
Yeah.
When I got to Denmark, I had a hotel room and I was traveling by bicycle.
Oh.
The backpack wasn't going to be smart because I was going to museums and castles and places where they were going to be like, dude, you can't bring that big backpack in here. So I had the 10-liter sling bag and I put a camera and a couple of lenses in there. And it rode either on my body or on the front rack of the little bicycle that I rented. And that was perfect. It was wonderful. So I kind of hid everything away in my hotel room that I didn't want to carry, carried the sling bag, and the big backpack sort of was the mothership, right? And each day I'd be like, okay, I'm going to this castle and I'm going to see these types of things. So I'll grab the 24 to 105 zoom lens and then a wide angle bright prime and a little micro tabletop tripod, throw it in my sling bag and head out. It worked really, really well for that. So your message of carrying along a second bag was really smart. Now, here's where the sling bag really came into its own. When I was on the plane, the backpack goes in the overhead compartment. The sling bag fits under the seat in front of me. And so it carries my iPad and, maybe a camera and a couple lenses that don't fit into the backpack, or guidebooks or whatever. I had that at my seat. It was super convenient to have that. So I'm a fan of having multiple bags, even in one trip. I think that trying to do it all with the sling bag wouldn't have worked because I wouldn't have had enough gear. Yep. Trying to do it all with the backpack wouldn't have worked because I couldn't have taken it everywhere. So, splitting it up, switching things around. We need to get away from a lot of beginning photographers and photographers who haven't tried to travel a lot with camera gear. We need to move away from this idea that you have a camera bag and that's just where your cameras live. You have cameras, and then you have bags that you use for certain situations, depending on the need, depending on your your gear and what you want to use.
Yeah. Okay. This brings us to something that we mentioned earlier. I think this is a good time to bring this up. So I've also been of the school of I've got this camera bag and I'm not going out on an excursion or workshop, but it holds all my lenses. So I'm just going to leave it here in my office, spare room, etc. And that's where all my lenses are. And one of the frustrations that I have found trying to do that is, okay, now I need to go out and what am I going to do? So I need to open up this bag and unpack it. And oh, geez, like I have all my batteries in these little pockets and I've got all my extra SD cards in these little pockets. And now I need to move all those, like I have to shift everything over to the other thing because, I mean, honestly, one of the things I really like about the Peak Design bags, and it seems sort of almost silly, but it's a great design. They have little pockets for your batteries.
Yep.
And they have a little bit of stitching, a little black stitching, a little red stitching that makes it super easy to know these are the batteries that are charged. Excuse me. These are the batteries that are charged. These are the batteries that are depleted. You can reach in and grab it right away.
So which is which? Are black charged and red's depleted, or red charged and black's depleted?
No, black is charged. Red's depleted. Why would it be anything else?
As long as you know, right? As long as you know.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is then, okay, well now I have to like go in and take out all the batteries and put them in the new thing. And so I'm going to go one more level down, which is having even smaller bags. This is like a Russian nesting doll.
Totally.
Sequence of how to do camera bags, but then you also have the little bags that hold these little things, because so many times I've done the shift from one bag to another, being very smart, like, oh, I don't need this big bag, I'm going to do the small bag, and then I get out there and I realize I don't have any batteries because I left them in the other thing, right?
Right.
And so then we end up, getting like little tiny utility bags, which is something that I've learned from you, and being able to say, all right, this is where all my batteries are going to go, or this is where all my power cables and things are going to go, so that all I have to do is grab one or two of these smaller bags and plan ahead, of course, that this is my little electronics bag and it goes here in this bag. And having a little bit of forethought go into that rather than just freewheeling it as you go. Right. So my next question that this is leading into is, where do you usually keep your lenses? Do you just move them from bag to bag, or do you have like a storage place?
I do now. It took me a while to get to this point. So for a very long time, my largest camera bag was the mothership, right? So, usually it was the backpack, and I would have all of my lenses and cameras in that backpack. And that would sit in a corner of an office or in the closet or whatever. When I built out this office, I built out this office. I designed the closet that you see behind my head to have shelves in it, and up above, I wanted to have a place where I could plug in chargers and things. So there's an outlet in there. And so I built shelves, and I have a place for all my lenses and a place for my cameras and a place for my things that need to be charged, like batteries and headlamps and all of that. And then I have a shelf down below that's sort of a workspace, and I have a lens cleaning stuff there. I have all the little tools that I might need. So it's sort of a place to assemble a kit, right? And then the next shelf down is accessories, drone, lights, big stuff that I don't always use, but it's nice to have handy. And then the bottom of the closet is all the camera bags get stuffed in. And then I have some hooks on the door for other camera bags. I have a lot of camera bags, right? So when I go and I'm going to go take photos, I go to the closet, open it up. I say, okay, which bag, right? Which bag am I going to use? And I choose a bag, and then I say, which gear go with me? So big trip, I'm going to empty the closet and put it in the bags, right? Take it home. Little day trip, it's going to be a light bag with a couple of lenses and a camera and those accessories. Now, I keep all my accessories in the little zippered pouch, just like you showed. And I have batteries on a charger. So I pull the batteries off, throw them in that little zippered pouch, and put that inside my whichever bag I'm using. But I've come to realize, and this is a fairly recent realization, that there are some items that I always want to have in my camera bags, but I have a lot of these items. So for instance, business cards. So why do I need to move business cards from bag to bag? Why don't I just leave 10 business cards in every bag? Boom, there you
What?
go. I know.
Whoa.
So I just went and said, I'll just put business cards in all my bags. I use AirTags. I think Apple AirTags are really brilliant little devices. So I have one in my big camera backpack, and then I have one in this little shoulder bag. And so I just leave them in the bag.
Yeah.
And what's nice about that is sometimes I'm like, where did I put the bag?
Where in my house is the bag?
Yeah, where did I put it? Is it downstairs? Where is it? So I have AirTags in the bags all the time. I don't move the AirTag from bag to bag. It's pretty sad, I think, that I do have different AirTags for different bags, but you know, sometimes I'm using more than one bag. So
That's
having
what they're there for,
multiple AirTags is a good idea. You know, I'm a big fan of these. We talked about this in our Christmas episode, I think. I'm a big fan of these field notes notebooks. So I have one of these and a pen in each bag. I don't move that from bag to bag. So the only things that move now from bag to bag is my batteries, camera batteries, my little wallet with SD cards in it, my camera Bluetooth remote control, so my remote shutter release, and a tool. So I have a Swiss Army knife that's connected to a hex wrench tool, the Peak Design little hex wrench tool.
Oh, yeah.
And those are all strung together with a little string that also has a little pinch light on it. And then I put a headlamp in there. So in this little pouch that's not much bigger than my phone, really, I have those necessities that can move from bag to bag. And they just get, you know, shuffled off. Now, of course, I've got another pouch full of filters, and I have, you know, a pouch full of panorama gear, and, you know, all of this other flap trap. But the day-to-day, you know, every time I go out with a camera, I want that bag with the extra batteries. I want that bag with the tools and stuff.
Well, this goes back to something that we've said in previous episodes, and I think it's just sort of a mantra, is, you know, knowing where everything is, knowing where things go saves you, you know, time and anxiety and, you know, the worry of, did I remember to bring everything? And just having that kind of a plan for knowing, okay, I'm going to do this kind of shooting. I'm going to go do some street shooting. So I need a small bag, this camera, this lens, and I've got my batteries, and boom, and there I go. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to reinvent it every time, which I think is something that was always an issue with early bags, because it would be a case of, I need to take this bag, so I'm going to unload everything in it and then rebuild it for the specific thing that I'm going to do. And it just takes so much time. And oftentimes this happens at 1 o'clock in the morning, the day before you're leaving somewhere, like just all of that discombobulation, right? That just drives you crazy. However, I'm going to say that I see a glaring flaw in your problem.
Oh, yeah.
Or
I'd
sorry,
love to hear it.
a glaring flaw in your process. Which is for you to really get the peak essence of your system, you need to just have a camera body in every bag. And so you need a 50 millimeter prime for every bag, so you can just grab it and
just have preloaded bags, just all these different sets.
I don't see that there's a problem here. What problem do you see here? Oh, that's right. Being able to feed yourself and have any money at all.
Have any money to travel with.
I don't go anywhere, but I've got these bags that are all ready. I can't afford to go anywhere because I've got these bags ready.
Stuck in my house eating cat food, but I've got bags loaded, ready to go. You know, in this conversation, it made me think of something. One of the challenges as photographers is we do accumulate a lot of garbage. We accumulate a lot of things that we truly don't need. And we've talked about this in past episodes. If you adopt a system where you store your gear outside your bags on a shelf, or maybe you have some people live in really humid environments. We don't, you know, we're pretty dry up here. But if I lived in a really humid environment, I would probably store my gear in a dehumidifying cabinet. You know, they make these for camera gear, for technology, and you keep all your lenses and stuff in there so they don't get mold and things, condensation inside, which is a problem I'm so glad I don't have. I can just put my stuff on a shelf. But having a space for your gear where it's safe and you know exactly where it is every time. So you get back from a trip, you open that bag up and you just depopulate the bag back on. Everything goes in its little spot. This is that object permanence we've talked about before.
Exactly.
This is where you get everything out of your bag and you look in there and you're like, oh, what is that thing that I brought along? I never used it. That's where you, every time you do this process of packing and unpacking a bag, you get to scrutinize everything you brought. And this is part of the learning process as a photographer, is you go, you know what? I've carried that lens on 3 different trips and never used it. Maybe it should stay home next time. Or, you know, I brought that pano gear and I didn't really need it. It weighs like 4 pounds. Maybe I'll think twice about putting that in the bag. But if you leave everything in a bag and you just grab it and head out the door, you don't really scrutinize what's in there. It just keeps getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And before you know it, you're like, I don't really like photography anymore. It's too much work.
Oh, it's true. It's true. Well, plus also, I mean, we can't ignore the other obvious point. And this is something that we've heard from a lot of people, which is, yeah, I would love to carry everything, but my body just doesn't want to do that anymore. Or
Yep.
I'm going to be exhausted if I'm carrying all this stuff. And then we fall back into that same problem of, hey, I've been having a great day so far and there's a fabulous sunset coming up, but I'm exhausted. I just can't do it. So I'm not gonna bother. And then, you know, you're not making photography. You're not being creative. You are being literally dragged down by your equipment. And
Yep.
so being able to, you know, make those trade-offs and figure out, okay, how long can I carry something all day? And am I going to have times when I can hang out for an hour or two for lunch when I'm not carrying this stuff? Like
Right.
all that comes into it too.
Yeah. Can your camera bag work as a pillow? Is actually something you know, you saw me in Bodie.
Oh yeah.
So on our trip, we got to Bodie. I was just beat. We got up super early. It was hot. We'd been out in the sun. I was like, I need to find some shade and take like a 10-minute nap. And I fluffed up the back panel of my camera bag and laid my head on it and took a little nose. So I want to follow up on what you just said because it's so important. This is really the core of what we're trying to talk about today.
Okay.
Our tools as photographers are expensive, heavy, delicate stuff, pretty delicate stuff. And we invest a lot of money in it. We want to take care of it. We want to bring it with us, but we want to not hurt it, right? So there's this tension. You could have amazing gear and leave it in your closet and just go and look at it and polish it. And that would be somewhat satisfying. It's so much better to take it out and use it to make photographs.
Mm-hmm.
So camera bags are, I would argue, the most important gear you have as a photographer because it's what enables you to get your gear from that closet to where you're going to make amazing photos. And if it makes you too tired to carry it, if it hurts your back, if it hurts your neck, if it's every time you use it, stuff falls out of it, if your camera gear isn't well protected and it gets broken, you know, those are all things that are going to end your enjoyment of this wonderful activity that we love.
Yes.
So the reason I have this problem with camera bags is because I believe that if I have good bags and good cameras, I'm going to take better pictures because I'm going to be inspired to get out and take better pictures because I've got nothing standing in my way. So I want to talk about, because we've been talking a lot here. I haven't talked about the bags I use the most.
Well, actually, I was just going to say, because I think this will be a good marker, and a year from now we'll revisit this.
Yes.
Let's talk about what specifically those bags are. A, just because I know people are going to be curious.
Right.
B, because we'll have links in the show notes so you can get more information. And C, I've forgotten what C is, so we're just going to go right into.
Let's see what we use.
Oh. All right, so, we're done now. We're canceling this podcast. Anyway, all right. What are you going to start with?
Well, you and I agree on this, so it's the same for both of us. We just have different sizes, right?
Yeah.
So this is the Shimoda Designs Explore Backpack version 2. So these are new this year, or last year, end of last year. But you can get them now. They're out and about. You can actually get these in stores now. These are hands down the most thoughtfully well-designed and built camera backpacks in the world. I've tried a lot of camera backpacks, and some of them have cooler materials than these. Some of them have cooler colors, but nothing combines all of the things that you need in a good camera bag, like a Shimoda Designs bag. And I've got two of them. So that one I just held up, the green one, is a 35-liter bag. So it holds everything. So if I'm going to carry 2 camera bodies, 5, 6 lenses, a drone, water bottle, panorama gear, tripod, extra jacket, snacks, all of that stuff, that bag will do it. It's loaded down, it's heavy. But the thing is with the Shimoda bags, and this is super important, is the suspension system is incredible. There's no other suspension system like it. The first time I tried on the Shimoda bag, and I've had the older version of this bag, I was like, wow, it's like getting a hug. It's really comfortable. Wow. And I now actually have one of my old bags, one of my old Shimoda bags I use as a day pack if I'm going hiking, because it's so comfortable. I can just load it down with all of our snacks and junk that we want to carry with us on the trail. But the straps are super wide. They're not hugely padded, but they place the weight of the bag really nicely on your shoulders. And they're very adjustable. And this is super important because everybody's shaped differently. And Shimoda bags have female-specific straps that you can get. So, these big pockets and things aren't necessarily what a lot of females want across their chest. And so they have different straps to accommodate that. And these straps are amazing. So you get the bag on and you get it fitted properly. Not only is it going to distribute the load really nicely over your shoulders and your chest, but you now have pockets on the front for putting your phone, accessories, remote triggers, radios, even a water bottle. I can put a water bottle in this front pocket. So really, really brilliant suspension system. So I can carry this bag all day without it making me suffer. Whereas if I put on that Peak Design everyday backpack, I'm going to be like, oh God, I'm dying. This is the 25-liter version. So if I was going on a flight, international flights especially, this is going to make it into the overhead bin. It's going to make it past any stringent carry-on restrictions. It's the right size for that. This bag, I can't fit all my gear into it, but I can fit everything I would want on a trip. So probably leave a few lenses at home, maybe just bring one camera body, carry 3-4 lenses, still have room for pano gear and water bottle and accessories and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It is a brilliant bag. So this is the Explorer version 2, 25-liter and 35-liter, and you have the 30-liter, which is the middle size.
Yeah, and when we took it on our trip, this was actually the first bag. So one feature of the Shimoda bags is it has the panel right behind you to access your lenses. You take the bag off, you put it on the ground, and you unzip this panel that opens like a door, and then everything is really easy to grab. And I'd never had a bag like that before. I had one once where you had to, it sort of opened up in a big V and it had pockets and it sounded like a great idea. This is the one I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And in practice, it just wasn't. Like you were always fighting past things. And having this bag with us when we were in the Sierra Nevada, had no problems carrying it around, having it in the back of the car, and everything was really easy to access. So yeah, I like that quite a bit. For my everyday use, I still like the everyday Peak Design backpack. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's because I'm not carrying it as much, but I've not had as many issues in terms of comfort of the straps and that sounds like that you've had. And so for me, it works out really well. I find that it's often just barely overpacked. Yeah. I mean, and that's not even, there have been some times when I have had this as, the bag that I take for my computer and my camera gear. Like I've managed to cram a bunch of stuff in there and mm-hmm. sort of started wondering if maybe the zippers were going to pop or something, which I don't recommend. But for the most part, it works for me because of the stuff that I just need every day. Again, I'm not going to coffee shops the way I used to because of pandemic and all of that. And so I haven't really needed to revisit that as much. Also because I work from home, just not as mobile. But when I've taken things out, there's enough segmentation that I know mostly where to reach and grab things. So that's worked out really well for me. Again, I loved the messenger bags. I think I prefer a messenger bag style overall, but it just, my back didn't like it. Like after a certain amount of time, I was like, well, I do like this a lot, but I also like not being in pain. So that's, personal choice.
Yeah, and the shoulder strap of a sling bag or a messenger bag is problematic if it's heavy. These are really meant to be lighter load bags. One thing I will say, thinking about sort of this digital nomad situation where you're carrying a laptop and camera gear and water bottle and all this other stuff. I do think that the everyday backpack is a great design. I really like the way that the laptop compartment is separate. It's a really well thought out and incredibly well padded laptop compartment in that bag. We both have the big 16-inch MacBook Pro, and the Shimoda backpacks, one of its Achilles heel is it's not really meant to carry a laptop like that, like this big 16-inch MacBook Pro.
It does have a laptop sleeve in the door, but it's kind of
it does. I have a problem with it's not quite big enough for our laptops. If you had a smaller laptop, it would fit in there really nicely. The problem I have with having a laptop in a camera bag, and this is a good point to bring up at this point, is you have your lenses, you have your camera bodies. Those are all unforgiving, heavy objects. And all of the camera bags that we use, for the most part, have this grid of compartments inside of a padded cell inside the bag. And you open the back or you open the front and you get in there and you put all your things in its own little apartment, right? And if you have the back panel has a laptop in it and you close it up against the ends of those lenses, I really worry about impacts or falls. I'm not the clumsiest guy around, but I'm not a gazelle. I do slip and tumble every now and then. And I think about what's going to happen if I fall down and drive my favorite 50 millimeter 1.2 lens into the middle of my favorite laptop. It's not going to end well. And there's going to be a lot of crying and bad words and, it's
bad role model for your kids.
Yeah. Kids are going to be scarred for life. So I think about that a lot with laptop carry, this problem of traveling. If I'm going on an airplane and I want to bring my laptop with me so I can edit photos or videos or whatever in the field, I really got to think about how I'm going to approach that. And it's probably going to mean a separate backpack for the laptop. And maybe I put the sling bag inside there, And so it's difficult. It's a challenge. And this comes around to maybe a great way for us to wrap this up. A lot of times, as much as I love the Shimoda bags, and I think Ian Miller, the designer of these bags and the owner of Shimoda Designs, he's brilliant. But the fact that we think that we can put a laptop in there just says that we're trying to do too much with this bag. And you need to know that every bag is going to have features that are trying to appeal to a wide range of users. And you need to know as a user of that bag, what's right for me? And if that's a feature set that doesn't address your needs, then it's not a great bag for you. I think there are people that the Shimoda bag isn't the best bag for them. And we do have this problem. We started the conversation with this. A lot of people will see these bags on photographers that they admire or photographers that they like. And they're like, well, if they like that bag, it must be a great bag. It might be an awesome bag, but that doesn't mean it's the right bag for you.
Yeah.
So you have to talk to people. One of the things I do when I'm around other photographers, if we're doing a workshop, for instance, I spend a lot of time like, how do you like that bag? And then people will be like, oh, I really like it. Or I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out. Or I don't like all these pockets. You get really honest feedback, but then you can say, hey, can I try it on? I have given my bag to people. I'm like, here, try this on. I noticed you're struggling with your bag. Try this. I think you'll like the straps of this bag better. You need to be able to do that. I have a camera store in Portland here that's got a great selection of camera bags. And I like to support them. But one of the things I really like about that shop is they'll let you go in and they have a table right there in the camera bag section where you can take a bag off the shelf, slap it down on the table, throw it open, dig around inside, play with all the straps and pockets and try it on. And you really need to do that. You can't just grab these things out of the air and expect them to be what you need, especially with backpacks. I think the backpack needs to fit you well. Shoulder bags, I feel okay ordering a shoulder bag online, like this Wotancraft one, knowing that it's got a shoulder strap. I know what shoulder straps are like, but backpack straps are different. So find something that works, get people's feedback, try it out if you can before you buy it, and realize that one bag is not going to be your last camera bag. It shouldn't be.
Yep. All right. Have we photocombobulated this?
I'm not sure. I think so. Are just as discombobulated as they were before. But
yeah. Well, so here's the thing. I sort of feel like we've taken a high level approach to all this, just because it can get so deep in the weeds. I mean, obviously, you and I were suddenly like, oh, well, then what about these little pouches, and what about this, and what about that? So here's the thing. Let us know what about camera bags frustrates you, or what you want to know more about, because believe me, all the bags that I own have been bags recommended by Mason. I'm just going to throw you out there as an expert, and a hard-won expert, because I know that you came by this knowledge by suffering through a lot of bags. And believe me, dear listener, I have seen the bag dungeon. I know where all these bags live. It's not actually a dungeon, really.
It's not a dungeon.
It's not a dungeon. But you do, to get back to the beginning, you do have a problem. But this is a problem that I've benefited from, because you've been able to recommend really good bags to me. So,
yeah.
But let us know what you think, and what aspects of bags you want us to follow up on, because there's so much having to do with, waterproofing and small carry things, and how do things last. And I mean, there's so much, which I think is why these industries work so well, because there are so many different ways, so many different directions you can go with them. So let us know. Go to photocombobulate.com. There's a feedback form there. Or you can, hit us up on Instagram. I'm at Jeff Carlson. He's at Mason J. Marsh. And, or, just go to at Photocombobulate podcast. Oh crap. What's our Instagram?
Just search for Photocombobulate on Instagram. Yeah. We also
exactly
have a Facebook page. We've got a comment section on our website. So people have lots of ways they can reach out to us. And I would love to get people's feedback on this. This is a subject, as you can tell, that I care a lot about. I do have a problem. I am always searching for better camera bags. But it's a good problem to have, because we have so many great options. We have so many great options nowadays. Materials, everything are just come a long way. So please let us know how we can help you more with camera bags. If you have specific questions about specific bags and you'd like our feedback, feel free to ask. We might have experience with that. We might know somebody who does. So let us know. And please do us a favor. This is our 13th episode of Photocombobulate. And if you've reached this far into this episode, that means you're one of our best listeners. And we would love it if you could go to Apple Podcasts or any of the podcast apps and leave a review and a rating. That helps the algorithms, spread the love a little bit more. You know how this stuff works. So help us out with that, and we'd really appreciate it. And if you leave a really good review, maybe I'll send you one of my old camera bags.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
I do have a few. I'm trying to get rid of.
Do you have a couple? I think maybe.
Just a couple.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Until next time, this is photocombobulate.com. And I'm Jeff Carlson.
And I'm Mason Marsh. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks much.